What's good, boys? Excuse the horrendous lighting and the new camera angle because I have my phone propped up on the TV and I actually want to see what I'm talking about in terms of today's topic. But I'm still not looking too bad. Jawline as sharp as ever. So today Xbox had their showcase, and if you hadn't already seen, I made a video about that. And at the end of that showcase was Starfield Direct. It's about 45 minutes long. Originally, I was just gonna make another short about it, but considering everything that they showed off, I feel like I wouldn't be doing it justice. I really do want to put my thoughts in a full video. By the way, if you're wondering why I didn't put out the Jedi Survivor review, I had difficulties finding storage for that review. It was literally over an hour long. So that's not gonna be coming out. But in short, it's a good game. Not great, but it was good. There. So, obviously, they showed us a lot. And if not a lot, everything. Pretty much went over the basics, and the entire Starfield Direct showcase was pretty much a good summary of everything the game has to offer. Let's start with the story of the game, and this will obviously be really quick, but you know, you're a part of this, seems like a secret society, as they described it, the Constellation, and basically you go out into space and explore for them to find different artifacts and discover things unknown to what is already the very vast galaxies and multiple systems of, well, just space. There's different factions. From what I know, you can join different factions. Your character can have different backgrounds depending on what you choose for your character that lead you to make certain choices throughout the game. Lots of side stories and characters and things to experience throughout the game as far as different side stories go. This is basically Fallout in space. And also very reminiscent of Fallout New Vegas, I would say. A silent protagonist is back. I am very happy about. Having a voice actor in Fallout 4 wasn't the worst decision, but in my opinion, your character can be much more open when they don't have a voice actor portraying what their emotions are and such when you actually select these dialogue choices. But of course, for how the story will actually go, yeah, we're gonna wait till the game comes out. So then there's the gameplay itself. They showed off the gunplay here as well, just like the last gameplay trailer they did. Looks pretty cool, looks fun. My favorite part was when they were shooting the jetpacks and people the bad guys went fucking flying and they hit a ceiling and just explode. That was definitely my favorite part about the combat. They showed off the different animations. God, Todd Howard is hilarious. We have a new animation system. Yeah, okay.
We also have an all-new animation system. And of course, you can play it in third person, and you can play it in first person.
Todd Howard has definitely reached max charisma in life, because who cares, dude? He has astronomical levels of cap. They're talking about new animation systems, next-gen level lighting, whatever. Oh, God.
This is running on a next-generation version of our creation engine, features full physical-based rendering, as well as dynamic volumetric lighting.
Okay.
They showed off a bit of melee combat, which looked cool. That's something we'd have to see in-game ourselves to determine how that's gonna feel. One of the lead tech designers, I believe, was the one explaining how punching feels, and that looked pretty basic.
That one's a lot of fun.
We saw like knives and axes being used to chop up alien monsters, stuff like that. That looked cool, but it didn't look anything too crazy. What I will say did look pretty awesome was the jetpack. I am definitely going for that on my first playthrough. That will definitely give you the best sense of verticality in the game, and of course, you get to fly while shooting people, and that's a no-brainer. Why would you not use a jetpack in a space game? So yeah, that's gonna be a staple for most people, I assume, probably me as well. And then they showed this off at the very end of the showcase as well. It looked like space magic. I don't know, using the Force. The very last bit of gameplay they showed before Todd Howard said thank you was that your character used his hand to do something, and then it made everyone in front of your character go into zero gravity. It seemed like all of the enemies were floating at the touch of your hand being used. It's kind of weird. So I'm glad they showed more of that off and gave that a little reveal. Makes it a little more exciting to see in game. And then of course, ship combat still looks extremely smooth. Some of the smoothest ship combat you'll ever see in a video game, hands down, will always be in Star Wars Squadrons. If you've never seen or played that, Star Wars Squadrons basically is a ship combat game that takes place in Star Wars, using X-Wings, A-Wings, all that good stuff. This looks like it's gonna rival that. That on top of all the ship customization that you can have. I mean, dude, I was kind of skeptical on how much you could customize your ship until they actually showed off the variety in ship customization, which I'm really, really glad they did, because it shows you that you can create any ship to your imagination. They made one that looked like a Megazord. There was the one that looked like a platypus, like that woman said. It seems like you can do anything with your ship, dude, and that's one of the things I'm going to be excited for the most in terms of customization in this game. Speaking of customization, character customization looks awesome. Much more extensive than it did in Fallout 4. And then, of course, the human faces look a lot better as well. They don't look perfect. This is Bethesda Game Studios. Their human faces have never looked perfect, but they do look really good. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. They did pretty decent with this. And as far as facial animations go, those look very decent as well, especially during dialogue, which of course, as we've seen already, looks very old Bethesda game-esque. Zooming in on the face as you're speaking with them. Oblivion, Fallout 3, New Vegas, blah, blah, blah. The faces and their animations do look nice. And then weapon customization looks extremely extensive. I'm interested to see how many guns are in the game. Like I mentioned before, there are a lot of melee weapons. That's pretty cool. But as for the kinds of guns you can use, first of all, the fact that you can use a ballistic weapon in zero gravity, and as you're shooting it, it pushes you back in that space because it's like the force of the gun is pushing you back. That is so cool. It adds a sense of not just realism, but like just immersion, because you know you're in space. Zero gravity, using guns with bullets with recoil, pushing you like, come on, man. That's awesome. Laser weapons are no surprise, yeah. But there was the electromagnetic gun that looked pretty interesting to me. Not sure how that's gonna work fully yet, of course, but that looked a little OP, but I love it. I don't care, I love it, yeah. And then of course, tying in with all the combat, there's these skills, and if you take a look at what their skill trees look like, it looks like there's different tiers of skills that you go through. You go from top to bottom, I guess. Looks pretty standard, but of course that gives you the RPG aspect of the game, and you can choose how your character wants to play. And yes, Bethesda stealth is back. And yeah, it's very basic, but I've always loved it. My first build in any Elder Scrolls or Fallout game is an assassin build. That's probably what I'm gonna do here. And like I mentioned earlier, you can pick your background as for who your character is in the game. So I'm sure charisma will tie into that. As for how you can traverse the world, interact with different NPCs, they showed that you can even get past some cults and pirates in space by speaking with them about you happening to have the same beliefs as them, which I think is awesome. If everything in the game goes that extensively as far as dialogue goes and actual immersion within all the NPCs in the game, we're in for a real treat. We haven't had something that good since New Vegas. And speaking of interacting with people in space, right away I just want to say, the fact that they turned Assassin's Creed Black Flag into a space game, I don't care. Bro, it's Black Flag. It's literally Black Flag in space. For one, entering combat with different pirates in space and destroying their ships for loot, you know. I was hoping you'd get to do that anyway, seeing as you do have ship combat. But you can damage their ship enough to board them, kill the people inside the ship, and take all of the loot in there, and then who knows what else you could do with that ship? I mean, bro, what? That's Black Flag in space! What are we saying? So that's got me pretty excited. And on your ship, having companions, that should be pretty cool. Hopefully a lot of dialogue options with that going on. Now, all that probably won't be as extensive as something like Mass Effect. Maybe it will be, but Mass Effect is known for, of course, you having extensive relationships with your crew. And they show that you can romance some of your crew members as well. We'll see how deep that goes, but I'm glad that is there because this is a role-playing game and I want to be able to do any and everything, especially in a game as big as this. Now, if we're talking about the world itself, and I mean the galaxies, space systems, all the planets, as they mentioned, some of them are procedurally generated. Whether that's a good or bad thing, obviously we have to see for ourselves. But of course they mentioned that a lot of the stuff is handcrafted themselves. I mean, I would hope so. I don't want everything to be like No Man's Sky. I mean, this is a Bethesda RPG, you know? Give me some kind of handcrafted dungeon somewhere, you know?
The game has over 200 dungeons, all handcrafted.
They give you a lot of the basic bandit camps and all that. That stuff looks cool. Stuff we'll have to see in game, but what I was a little skeptical about was the fact that you have to upgrade your ship and its hyperdrive to go into hyperspace and travel to farther and farther planets, which I get. I just hope that doesn't turn into too much of a grind because I want to be able to explore the game in its entirety. I want to explore everything. They say they give you thousands of planets. I want to go to thousands of planets. I want to be able to fly between each and every one of them. I just hope that upgrading your hyperdrive doesn't take you 100+ hours to do. That's all I'm asking for. But it still looks awesome. And from what they showed off in exploration, discovering the different wildlife, picking up plants, building bases on all those different planets, it's pretty cool. Everything they showed us, I think, is kind of what we were hoping for from Starfield. As for how the game will run, I'm not going to expect it to be perfect, especially since it's a Bethesda Game Studios game, and considering how big it is, none of us should be expecting this to run at a constant 30 all the time. But I'm okay with it being at around 25 at times. I will say though, there were a couple clips in there where the frames, and I'll try to show it on screen, but the frames during one of the combat sections, like, were super low. I don't know if it was intentional when they were showing it off, but it looked like it was going like 10, 15 frames a second, and they just left it in there. Maybe it was intentional, but it just looked really weird. And with what we've been experiencing lately with Redfall, Jedi Survivor, I just hope that won't be happening most of the time. It's a big game, I understand. But you did delay the game for an entire year and some change. Hopefully you've been working on the technical side of things a lot. But besides that, they were obviously showing it off in 4K. It looks like they were showing it off on the Series X, at least to me. It looked like it was running at 4K 30. And obviously they're going to try to make it look as good as possible. So as far as frame drops go, other than what I mentioned earlier, we got to see for ourselves. But they did delay the game. I would assume it'd be ready by now, especially with this big release coming up. The only other thing to mention is the collector's edition. That watch looks pretty sick. I was considering buying that glorified Apple Watch until I looked at how much the collector's edition is. It's $300. That's going to be a no for me. But the controller looks pretty cool. The adjustable headset looks awesome. So whoever does spend their money on that thing, go right ahead. I think you'll get your money's worth. But $300, nah, I'll stick to maybe trying to find the Steelbook, and that's it. But I'm super excited. Thing is, this is a lot. This is a lot in the game. I'm expecting everything to be decent at least. I'm not expecting it to run perfectly, like I said, but if this is a bad release, and I'm going to try to get this day one. Yeah, I am. Trust me. If this is a bad release, I'm going to consider switching to PS5. I know they showed off Avowed. Avowed looks pretty cool. Doesn't look amazing or anything, but it looks pretty damn cool. I'm excited for Obsidian to put that out. I'm going to wait for Fabled gameplay, but I'm glad that got announced officially for next year. Xbox looks like they're in a good spot, but as you can see, the releases have not been great. Hi-Fi Rush was pretty cool, but then you saw Redfall. Redfall was supposed to be the big hitter, and Jesus Christ. And it has me kind of skeptical about day one Game Pass releases. Payday 3 is going to be day one on Game Pass. I'm hyped for that, but doesn't look amazing, so we gotta see how that runs. Clockwork Revolution looked cool. There were some other games I can't really think of right now, but it was a great showcase. The only thing that matters is when they release. We saw that. Once these games release, that's when the jury will officially put out their verdict for everything. But this is the most important one. If Starfield flops, it's over for Xbox. They might have to wait on Elder Scrolls 6 to save it in a few years, but if Starfield flops, this is it. And I think I'm definitely switching, if that's the case. But we just gotta see. September 6th is gonna be an extremely exciting day. I cannot wait for that game. This showcase was awesome. I had to rewatch it to give my official, very clear thoughts on it. And I think they pretty much gave us everything that they could. So, just gonna have to wait for it to come out. Hope you guys enjoyed the showcase too. As Xbox and Bethesda fans in general, I sure did. Let's see what happens. It's been your boy, Don't Touch the AC. Catch you later.